Hello, friends. How are you today? Well, I've got something really interesting with you because there has been a shift in the energies with this big wave coming in. Let's take a look. But before we do that, could you please like the videos, subscribe, and if you're on Rumble, check out my Rumble channel too. I mirror all my videos to Rumble now as well. And I want to thank everybody on Rumble who's been helping me out. I've noticed my views have gone up there and my ratios have gotten much better there. So thank you guys for what you're doing there. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I want to show you something here on the frequencies. It's so interesting because you notice that the frequencies have flattened out, right? It's really interesting. But with this wave, right prior to the wave coming, the green frequencies have gone up to the top end of their range and stayed there. Okay, here's red, and you can see that prior to the wave, they've come off a bit. Okay, now with yellow, you can see that the frequencies were kind of staying at the high end of their range. The bottom here was much deeper. And we did say that this first wave seemed to be a lot about the yellow energies, which would be the astral. Now, if you would like to have the details of how I relate the colors and what those colors mean of these different resonances, my video with CERN, C-E-R-N in the title, I went into it there, and I went into it a little bit in the last video about the first wave. So now let's look at white. Okay, so you can see white went up a little bit to the top of its range, but not for very long. Let's go back to green, because that's where we want to focus. So green had the most activity at the top of the range and the most points going over that, over the top of the previous high. So this is a high in the first wave. So something's happening in the green energy. And it's interesting because after this first wave, which was right here, we get this like sudden shock. All of the resonances respond. And that is this gateway post here. But how green responds is to go way to the high end of its range. And it's almost like a choice has been made. The low end of the range in green, I see in frequencies, I see as being more protective. The higher end of the range, I see as being more, we're taking more chances. We are expressing ourselves more individually. There's reasons why I have come to these conclusions. And over the last 2 years, I have talked about this in my video. So if you're new, I'm just going to go with that right now and not go into a deep explanation of it because I want to keep this video short. But that in particular with the green range is something that I have noticed. When it goes over, especially 25.2, it's like we move to a new level of being within the green total frequency range. So the higher end of the range has a more pronounced expression, in my view, than the lower end of the range. In the lower end of the range, what I've noticed is it seems like we are more muted, just in general humanity, more muted. Okay, so it's like, I looked at the charts with Alex this morning, and what she was saying about this is like we've said, F you guys, okay, to the forces trying to hold us down. F you guys, no. Going straight up, gonna express myself, gonna live life I want, don't agree with other people's plans for me, right? Okay, so it's interesting here in the amplitudes, you can see that the peaks in the amplitudes for the second wave are lower. And you see the peak in white is at about 47. The white peak is about double green. But now look at this, in the angel wing part of the wave, if you will, the peak is about at maybe 11 or 12. The peak here is like at 47. Okay, so you see how this set of peaks, the white, is multiples higher in hertz than the green. And I thought that that was really interesting. To me, what that says is the white resonance, which is like an expanded energy, And it offers, in a way, to us an expanded consciousness. It was so prominent, right? Its energies were so prominent, and probably so prominent in our in the human consciousness. And if you look at what it looks like, it does look like an angel wing. Somebody in the comments said this, and it was funny because I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to talk about next. It looks like two angel wings here, and you see how this wing is wider and bigger, right, than this one? This one's more pokey. And so if you look at how the amplitudes rolled out, see the rolling, how the amplitude or the power or energy here, there's a rolling nature to it. It's not spiky like here, okay? And so the white resonance was strong, right? So it made a big wave on the chart, but the center lasted longer and was less spiky than the first wave. And I believe that's why, because you had very marked spikes in amplitude here, whereas here you had a high amplitude, not as high, but for an extended period of time, like maybe almost even 2 hours. And so you had a different shape to the wave. Isn't that interesting? But this is what I wanted to show you about the qualities. This is what's so amazing. What it looks like is we've made a choice, right? Because we had this range of choices available to us at low qualities. I explained how that works, the mechanics of that yesterday. But now look what happens. As this wave comes in, red spikes in quality. So red shows itself. It's like the devil on the shoulder. Very clearly says, hey, why don't you do this, right? And then the green is rising. So we are feeling ourselves, right? We are connecting more with our truth. It's like we're rising up and saying, no, I want it to be my truth. And then right before the amplitudes really spike, the white spikes. So it's like the angel on the shoulder saying, here, do this choice, right? So we've got the red and the devil and the white angel. And it's so amazing because that's when, right after that, green spikes to 13. Now this 13 spike is still low, but it's in general higher, right, than these very low qualities down here. And we go with what we want to do. We're not going to be led by the nose, by the devil, by the choices that darkness is offering us. We get a power boost from the white, which in my view amps up our ability to connect with our true self, or enhances. Amps up is not really a good word because there's actually amplitudes. So I have to be careful with my descriptions here, but it enhances that. And so then what happens? In this dip, we get the dip. The dip happens as the white spikes. And then what happens? We spike and we connect with the truth of who we are. And the red comes off. Isn't that fascinating? That's what I put, the red spike with the devil duck and the white spike with the angel. And the green in the background, meaning this is our range of choices here. But what we've chosen, right, it's individual, but what we choose is the truth for each one of us. That's what it looks like on the map of human consciousness, the Schumann resonance, right? Whatever that truth is for you, okay? And for each one of us, it's going to be different. It's going to be somewhere on the spectrum. But in truth, when you align with the divinity that you are inside with you, when you align with the inner truth, then the seesaw between darkness and light is not what's prominent. What's prominent is your own discussion with God, your own discussion with your soul, and how that rolls out for you, what that indicates for you is the best way to move forward.